Okay, this one I just read. This one. Okay, so it says here, if you scroll down, it says here the soldiers lived in peace. Okay, I'm gonna skip all that. The blue here, I'm gonna skip it. This is a picture. So this is a image. So I can't line nothing and stuff like that. But let me just go to the point. Because the island was then rich, fertile, and full of Indians, but the greater part hung themselves soon after the arrival of De Soto. This is the cause of their desperation, as the people of Cuba are naturally lazy. This is what these filthy fucking apes said. And why did they call them lazy? Well, let's read on the reason why they called them lazy. And as the land of the country yields much, because there was abundance of just riches, and mineral resources and stuff like that every day. Okay, let me go on. And fruit, food, and all that. They did not take great pains to cultivate it. That's why they called them lazy. So the thing is, the natives over there in Cuba, they just ate the fruit off of the land. They didn't had farms and stuff like that. But the other places they did have. So it's basically just different type of people and different mentalities. But they called them lazy for that. This is just crazy. Anyway, they raised only a little corn, because that's all they needed, which they gathered each year for the necessaries of life. That's what they needed. They only needed it to sustain themselves. They didn't need to distribute, or like you devils do, which is overfishing the oceans just to sell for money. You're not going there fishing for feeding the people. You're going fishing to make money. It's a very different mindset. If you go out there to plant food for for money, or if you go out to plant food for feeding the people, those are two different mindsets. Both of them do the same thing physically, but mentally they have two different mindsets. The one is going to overfish because he wants to get more money. The other one is going to do it indeed in measurement, so that there is more for next and the other generations coming after them, because he doesn't want to be like, I'm going to kill all the fishes. No, we only need what we need. Right? Anyway, so that these poor limited themselves to what nature demanded for its substance. What? Subsistence. Basically what he's saying is, what nature gave them, that's what they worked with. They didn't force nature by started planting and making farms and started farming. They didn't do that. They only farmed for corn and stuff like that. They didn't farm for the other fruits, like have a whole row of, banana trees, a whole row of apple trees and stuff like that. They didn't do that. They just had it there, and when they had need of it, they would go and pick it for themselves. They didn't do it for merchandise sake, because believe it or not, they didn't have money systems like that. Their money system was barter, which is dealing in food. You want this? I want the clothing that you have. I give you food and stuff like that. Oh, you want that? Okay, give me them cows and them goats and stuff like that, or the sheep or whatever. Give me that, then I'll give you. You see, that's how they work. And it's going to explain it to you. I'm going to read it to you right now. And as gold was not necessary for life. See, they didn't need it. They did not esteem it. It was nothing to them, and could not adventure that the Spaniards should compel them. They forced them. If you don't know what the word compel means, compel them to draw it from the places where it was found. They knew that the natives had gold on them, because they had gold on them. They knew that the natives knew where to find it, so they started to force them. Right? Therefore, in order to be no longer obliged to do to do a thing to which they had so great an aversion. So the point aversion is this. Aversion a tendency or wish to avoid someone or something. So let me now go back to it. So it says, I start here again. I hope you can see me, because like I said, I can't line it, so I can't track it for you to read along. So I hope you can see the mouse thing. And as gold was not necessary for life, they did not esteem it. They didn't put it up high, and could not adventure that the Spaniards should compel them to draw it from the places where it was found, because they didn't see gold as something of value. It couldn't. They couldn't understand why the Spaniards would force them to get this useless thing that they called gold. They just take it and wear it around their body and necks and clothing and stuff like that because it looks beautiful, not because it has any value to them. So they couldn't understand it. Like, why are you so hard pressed on trying to make me give you this? Like, anyway, but they're the lazy goddamn devils because they didn't want to get it themselves. Anyway, therefore, in order to have no longer obliged, so basically I don't want to do it no more, to do a thing to which they had so great an aversion, they didn't care about it. They nearly all hung themselves. So in order to get away from the fact of being compelled to do something that they seem worthless, like, why do you want this? They was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna kill myself. And there were found in the morning in a single village 50 families which had made way with themselves in this manner. They killed themselves. The Spaniards, frightened at the horror of this spectacle, they wasn't frightened like, oh my gosh, life, precious life has been extinguished. No, they was like, shit, how are we gonna find where the gold is, man? They killing themselves, man. We need to keep them alive to keep them talking, you know, and do the work. Try to divert the rest of the... They call them barbarians. Does that look like something that a barbarian would do? That looks like something that a very, very loving, peaceful, and patient... No. Well, they didn't have patience with you goddamn devils, and which they shouldn't have. But still, I didn't want to say the word patient. Passionate. They was loving, they was kind, they was very friendly, they was peaceful, and all that type of stuff. That barbarians would be like, you know, I see you, I'll kill you, I'll scalp you, eat your fucking bodies. That's what they did. They were eating dead bodies of the Native Americans. They are still until this day barbarians. Anyway, from the resolution so cruel. Well, you're crueler because you want to enslave them. Death is better than slavery. Lamentations chapter 4 shows you that. But it was useless, for the greater part of the island and nearly all their neighbors also ended their lives by the same kind of death. They killed themselves. They hung themselves. Hence it comes again. Hence it comes that now they pay very dearly for the Negroes, because they didn't kill themselves. They just did the work, whom they take to the mines. So they're the ones that they took to the mines in order for them to basically, okay, now you're going to do it. So who's the lazy one? But don't worry, man. We're going to get them, Heavenly Father willing. Where am I right now? Okay. So a most particular, I have this website here. Look, it says here top here, if only 500 slaves were sent to America between 15. So if you go here, if only here, the same thing here up here, if only 500,000 slaves were sent to America between 1555 and 1863, were any indigenous black people already living in America? I cannot find the guy that commented this thing, but I can show you that it was a person. And I can show you, look here, this is the same thing. And this guy, Marcus Brown, I can't find his comment no more. I can't find it, but it's his comment. As you can see here, to answer your question, yes, there were indigenous so-called blacks already in Americas. And then here, well, it's just the last part of it, Americas, sorry. Here, as you can see, in the records and stuff like that. And here, it is in record and stuff like that. It's the same thing, yeah? So it says, a most particular thing in this, I don't know what this word is. in this book on the human race asserts the fact that the African lived on those islands long before the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. So these devils are telling you that Africans were there before Christopher Columbus came, and also Hernando de Soto, another Edomite, he also is telling you, like, look, they were Africans there. We saw them, broad faces. We didn't find them beautiful, handsome in the face, but we find them handsome in body. Their faces were not that beautiful. But then we have the other natives, different forms of them. One of them, some of them light, some of them brown, some of them even black-skinned, but they have sharp faces like Asiatic people from Asia, and all that type of stuff. And yeah, you can let me see, let me read on. Before he is high authority. He is high authority, whatever. He is high authority, and he says that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes, what were known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. Who do you think that is? Those were Reubenites, man. They couldn't beat them. In the book of Hernando de Soto, he says it too. They had much trouble with them. They couldn't beat them. Yeah, they were too strong. Those were the ones that they find ugly in the face, but beautiful in body. The Yamasee Indians. Yeah. So it says what were known afterward as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. The well-known Yamasee Indians were Africans. That's what they called them. But yeah, those were just Negro-looking ones. Is it a fact that they were much darker than the other Indians? Answer. So question is a Q, and then A is an answer. Yes, it is a fact. And the hair was different too. I just read about that in Hernando de Soto, his book. Question, and their hair was different too. Answer. So it is stated by one of the most distinguished ethnologists in the world. I think it has to do with ethnicities, that he's a studier of it or something. Another corroborative proof is that the Spaniards found that one Negro was equal to 10 Indians for work. This is what they said. They was like, hey, these motherfuckers are strong. Let's get them. And the natives, this is not Hernando de Soto. This is the other Edomite. But Hernando de Soto, he documented that, hey, these guys are weak looking, man. They're very soft spoken, and they're delicate and tender and stuff like that, ready for the taking. But other natives, they were strong. They were big, with the sharp faces still, Asiatic type of faces. And yeah, they had resistance with them too. You know, they resisted them and stuff like that. But anyway, and they therefore imported these Indian Negroes, and carried them to the West Indies to experiment with. Right, that's what they did, which is breeding with the natives and stuff like that. But that's another story. And then you have here in this book, I don't know which book it is. These are actually old videos that I did, but I made screen pictures of them. I'm gonna just read the green. The history is peppered by a long series of wars with European invaders and North American and American Indian tribes. Later on, the English colonists of the Carolinas turned on the Yamasees. This brings to mind the Papal Bull, which sanctified the enslavements of all the descendants of Ham, because they're trying to associate us to the Africans, right? That shows you that they thought we were Africans, right? Anyway, and other non-European peoples. Thus, the Yamasees, being a black people, were automatically eligible to be enslaved, because that is what they see us as, Hamites. But the other devils, they know that we're not Hamites. But anyway, so now going further with Hernando de Soto book. The day that the Spaniards left Covala, something like that, missed 3 slaves. So they came with slaves there, but they was missing 3. So they was like, where'd they go? Of whom were 2 Negroes and the other a Moor. So they enslaved their dumb ass too, because you had Moors that was working with these devils when they came over, and then they enslaved them. They turn on to you. Hey, listen, every treaty that you make with these people, they gonna get you, boy. They gonna get you. They gonna get you. You thought you was different. That's why I can't stand the house Negro. Keep on playing with your little light skin jokes and shit like that. Keep on playing. You're gonna meet somebody that's gonna be fierce, and they're gonna let you know. They're gonna let you know, boy. You probably didn't meet nobody in America, but when you come outside America, I don't want to boast, man. I just say, I hope you find someone that you say that shit around, and he gonna show you what's really going down. Either death or fight. He gonna show you. I hope you meet someone. Heavenly Father willing. The love of women, the love of women, rather than any bad treatment, had caused them to flee and live among the Indians because they treated them better. And it's funny because, let me read on, who were so delighted to have them that they could never recover them whatsoever haste that they made for that purpose. They wanted to stay with the women because they treated them better. As the Negroes loved their Caucasus masters, their Edomite masters, and passed for good Christians, because they already programmed them, like Caesar Borgia, right? They were surprised at their crime because they were loyal. They were loyal Edomite followers until they saw the so-called natives over there, and they was like, "Fuck that shit! I ain't going back. Fuck that! I'm getting treated here like a person." So they betrayed their Edomite masters, and they was shocked, like, "They turn on me? This is preposterous." Going on. But none of these devils, none of these Edomites was astonished, or astonished, but yeah, it's astonished, at the conduct of the Moor. Why? Who was crafty and wicked, because it was the Moors that was actually helping them to a certain degree. But then again, don't be stupid. Not all the Moors were doing it, because the ones that was not against it, they would either be murdered, or they would just fight until they flee or something like that. But you had house Negro Moors, of course, which are all Israelites, by the way, that would help these devils. Yeah, they would help them. And that's why I showed you the picture in the beginning. You had Moors here. Where is it? You had Moors here that was selling white women to the Arabs. And there's many more pictures of this, by the way. They was selling white women. Because the Moors were demonic. They were a bunch of demonic Negroes. They was selling everybody. They was selling Jake. They was selling on white, but they're more known for selling white people. They're more known for doing that. And the Dutch, until this day, have it in their songs. And in their so-called culture thing. It's not even fucking culture. It's history. They call it Black Pete, where they make this one, the Moors. I did a whole video about that, to show you why they actually celebrate this thing. It's to celebrate the fall of our people as Moors in Europe. They're celebrating our fall, and then they now mock us with that, with now being a slave for this devil over here, which was also a black man. But yeah, it's a whole story behind that. So yeah, anyway, finishing off, going back to over here. So the Moor, who was crafty and wicked, because he was also a backstabber, but just like them, you could say. But they hated it because they want to trust you, but you shouldn't trust them. But they want you to trust them, but they want to be able to trust you. Like, you're not gonna fuck me over, right, nigger? No. Oh, I'm gonna fuck you over. Oh, what'd you say, master? No, just go on about your business, nigger. Oh, okay, sir. That's what they want. They want you to be dumbed, to work them like, oh, he ain't gonna do nothing. Yeah, but they want you to be trusted, though. Yeah. Anyway, during the 3 days that, I don't know what it says right here, that the Spaniards recruited themselves, they snapped themselves together. They saw before war. because if you read the rest, it's going to go into war. They saw on the last day about noon, coming from a place full of reeds, 7 boats which advanced toward them. There was in the first boat a very large and very black Indian of a aspect very different. So aspect, I think it's aspect. Let me look it up. Aspect. I think it's aspect. Like I said, there's many typos in that thing, you know. Typos in it. I think it's translated from something into something, and then, you know, it kind of got messed up. But anyway. Oh shit! Sorry. Here. So it says here, a very large and very black Indian of an aspect very different from those who inhabited the interior of the country. These were another type of one, very, very dark skin and stuff like that. But it's going on. They call them barbarians too. Well, goddamn devil. Of the coasts are black in this manner because the sun is there warmer than elsewhere, and because they are continually in the water, which is salt. So now they want to blame it upon the water and the sun. I just showed you that there's different tribes in Africa, never went into slavery, never mingled with white people, Caucasus people, yeah, Edomites, but they very brown, and some of them are even Caucasus-born babies and stuff. You'd be looking at their skin like, damn. And that's not a so-called albino. That's just them. They look like that. They have that, you know, within them. And like I said again, they're not interbreeding with other people and stuff like that. They are that color, you know. So, and the point is, they are in the sun continually more than in America, because in America you have trees. In that place that I just showed you, they living in the savannah, man. There are trees there, but these people are not living there. They're not living in the forests. They're living in the open plains, in the savannas and stuff like that. Google savannah, then you will see what I'm talking about. Anyway, so it says here, the land being dry. These Caucasus people always want to blame the environment for certain type of skin textures and stuff like that. It's true to a certain degree, because in the wintertime I get a little bit lighter. Then in the summertime I get a little bit darker. But I've seen dark-skinned people from West Africa and also from the same country that I'm in. They stay all year round because their blood is how can I say it? Their family doesn't have dark brown and light brown in them. You have more dark in them. You know, stuff like that. If you have all dark people in you, in your family and stuff like that, you're gonna be dark. But if you have dark brown and brown in you, it's not necessarily that you're going to be dark. You might, you know, turn out a little bit lighter or something like that. Right. And again, that doesn't mean that they were intermingling with Edomites and stuff like that. That's not what it should not be automatically the part. You have a lot of people in Africa, a lot of women in Africa that's very dark. Let me show you some. You have a lot of people in Africa that are very dark with slim faces. I can't find pictures right now. Slim noses, I should say. And then you have devils in the comment board commenting like, "Oh, she look white." No, I think she did the nose job or something like that, trying to be white. But you have ones that are naturally born like this, and even darker than that. Even darker than this. Let me see. I think you had one from Arabia or something like that. Damn, forgot. Okay, this one is one, but I wasn't looking for this. But I do remember that there was another one actually, multiple ones. But I do remember that Devils was in the comment board saying stuff like, "Huh? She must be mixed white. Look at her nose," and stuff like. But it's not this one. But her nose was not like this one, for example, or something like that, or like this one or something like that. Because there's different there's different kinds, man. But these people only have seen one side, and therefore they think that they know all of them. That's the stupidity of the Edomites, and that's what they portray through their television and stuff like that. You know? Because when you actually see them, you'd be like, this is not what they showed you. Of course not. Why would they do that? You need to go out there and figure it out for yourself. You have the internet, right? Well, click on stuff, man. Look, I'm not trying to look up bitches, bro. I ain't doing that shit. I'm looking, and cause I'm a racist. I look at faces, I look at skin colors, I look at everything. I want to learn as much as possible. I am very interested in, for example, this. I'm interested in this. I am interested in this. What is the racism between them? What is the hatred between them? Let me see. I have, man. I can't figure out now everything, because I do know pictures like this. They used to be all dark. All of them used to be dark at one point in time, and now they're the opposite. They're all trying to make themselves caucus looking. And let me see. Just Japan and India. I just look up stuff, man, because I want to know. You know, I want to know. I want to know what is what, who is who, and why is why, and what is these looks? What do they look like that? You know, you have what looks like it's Photoshop or something. I don't know. But you do have Asiatic girls with this type of bronze, type of colors and stuff like that. You have Koreans with this, and they do not like them. They do not like them. This is an abomination for these ones. Well, I can't find them. Oh yeah, because I typed this here. This is an abomination for these ones. See, you see this? You see this? You see this shit? Of course, they patched it up and used filters, because they're not really like that. But this one is kind of, yeah, you can kind of see this one. Yeah, you know, this is what they want to look like. But they hate this one. They hate this, and I don't. Okay, and I have a reason. But anyway, I fight everything that's on the foot. I just hate them, and they hate us. So I hate them too. I hate them for you, you little girl. I hate them for you too. India, they do the same. So I hate this one. I don't hate this one, but it's the same person. But still, I hate these. Why? They hate. I hate them too. They need to be. Somebody needs to hate them. I'll do it. Need to hate them back. Right. Okay. Enough of this. Let me go back to over here. So it says here. A very large, a very black Indian of an aspect very different from those who inhabited the interiors of the country. Don't want to read that. Let me see here. First it says the land being dry and sterile, they obliged to fish in order to subsist or to basically exist. They need to fish. And you see that in the movie Avatar. You have certain ones that always are near the water. But that's also, actually, Avatar is actually based on people in Senegal. I didn't know that. Because when I looked at them, I thought natives. But they have the similar style of the people in Senegal. The natives over there, in America, they have the same type of style of the people in Senegal. And yeah, that's what the movie Avatar was based upon. I didn't know that. And a few others inspired by South Sudanese, and also yeah, that's what I said, a few others, and also Senegal. I read it from the people. Listen, so in the movie they have this clothing or beads or whatever covering, and then in reality the people of Sudan have it too. The women actually wear this, but you have other things that they also stole And they see, I have no problem with this skin color, but many people do because they don't want to see it exist. You have a lot of these tall people from South Sudan, which are the original Mizraim. And those are the ones, they're fucking tall, I'm telling you. They're very big. And those are the ones that they model the blue creatures after. But also Senegal. And in Senegal are Israelites. Well, there's Israelites, and there are very, very, very many Israelites among them there. Senegal. Wait, let me show you something. It's from the Sudan people of East Africa, yes. And you also have the, let me see. Damn, I can't see. Oh, you see? It's Native Americans. They do have it. Well, it says here, let me see. Such as Native Americans, because that's what I saw when I saw the movie. And then, of course, later on, I started to figure out that, oh, it was actually, originally, is based off of the people in South Sudan and also Senegal. Damn, I can't find that. The Dinka people are the ancient Egyptians because they are very tall. They are, and they're very thin too. Not all of them. But if you look at their men, they're actually Dinka men. They actually are tall and slim. They do. They are tall and slim, you know. But yeah. Since back in these days, I did a video about this thing a long time ago. Very long time ago. More than 10 years ago or something like that. But yeah, they are tall and slim. They are. But I've seen a few ones that would that goes against that are broad, you know, broad shoulders and stuff. They're strong looking, I should say. These ones don't look strong. They look very tall and slim. But this is where the movie was based upon and stuff like that. But the Native Americans also have these same type of customs that they do there. But when it comes to the clothing, no, that's 100% from Sudan. That's 100% Mizraim and stuff like that. That's from them. And the fishing thing, that's from Senegal. Because the Sudanese people are not really in the water like that. They are, but the Senegal is more close near water. So, well, South Sudan also, but South Sudan is more land inward, man, you know? Because I read it somewhere. But anyway, let me go on. So it says here, when the Indian approached the caravel, they placed themselves upon the brow. Well, sorry, let me read it again. So this is talking about the very dark black, very big, very large, very black Indian man. Let me read it here. I'll start here. When the Indian had approached the caravel near enough, he placed himself on the prow of his vessel, and in the voice full of haughtiness told this haughtiness, they dare use this. It says proudness, basically. Man, it's crazy. You invade a man's land, murdering many in your way, and then when they come and talk with anger towards you, you call that proud. You have to understand who you are dealing with. You're dealing with the Edomite nation. They don't think like normal people. That's why Obadiah chapter 1 and 18 is written. The Most High is going to be like, well, there's not going to be any... Read Obadiah chapter 1 verse 18. My point is to show you that they don't think like other nations, whatever. They don't think like other nations. They think unique. Therefore, the Heavenly Father is going to make sure that Obadiah 1 and 18 is done in full effect. No, is implemented in full effect. I want to use fancy words, but I can't figure them out. I can't get to the word fast enough. According to what interpreter what interpreter asserted. So they had an interpreter with them. So what do you think that was going on? They had a house monkey with them. A house monkey was telling them like, this is what he says, master. Should I translate more? He started talk like them too. You know? That's why I can't stand when I see a Jacob descendant and you talk like them. I already looking at you like, this motherfucker. You don't have to talk because they be like, I don't want to talk ghetto. Who told you that you have to talk like that? That's what they show you in the movies, and in you falling victim to their lies again. Just talk normal as your race, bitch. Just talk as yourself. You don't have to kiss they shit coming off your breath like that. You don't have to do that. When you open your mouth, oh, hey, close your mouth, man. You know, you don't have to do that. Be yourself. Honor your forefathers. You fucking vagabond. Honor your forefathers. That they were robbers. So the Native American, the very black Indian man said that they were robbers. What did they come to seek upon the coast? And that they should leave in haste. By one of the mouths of the Chukagua. Okay. Otherwise, there goes the spelling again. Otherwise, he would burn their brigantines and put them all to a miserable death. They call him a barbarian again. This barbarian, without waiting for an answer, returned to whence he had come. In the meanwhile, the Spaniards, the real barbarians, reflected upon the threats of this Indian and why they sent every little while boats to reckon, I don't know what it says right there. Reconnoitred them, resolved to attack him. So basically, what I get out of this is when the man came and he told them, like, get out of here, you robbers, or we're gonna kill you, and then just walked away. While he was walking away, they was thinking to themselves like, hey, so what did he just say? And then the guy translated for him. So what did they do? Resolved to attack him, for fear that by favor of the night he might come to attack them and set fire to the caravels, in which he would more easily have succeeded than by day, because the advantage which he had of being better acquainted with the sea than our men. So they attacked him right then and there after he threatened them. It was not a threat. He told them whatever. He told them what was going down, and they took it like, hey shit, let's do it now before he comes back and kills us. So another one of the screenshots that I made. Let me see. The inhabitants are very plain, good people. So this is page 565, which is, down here. But I'm reading now 564. So it says, the inhabitants are very plain, good people. Their king came to see the ships of Captain Desgourget, or whatever, I think it's French, and passed 2 nights there. Then he took him on shore to see his garden and his houses made in the form of a cavern, and his fountain, which he called paradise, in the very deep hollow of a rock, where they descended by steps. And he said that the water of this spring cured fevers. And that's the same thing that was in the scripture. When the angel came and the water got disturbed, then you needed to John 5:4. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. So the water started moving, spring, wrinkles and stuff. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. So they were doing stuff like this is what we had back in the days. And I would think I don't know if this is exactly it, because they were worshiping spirits and stuff like that, which also healed them. They did certain. Why do you think people worship devils? Because that shit works, man. People would be like, why would you even work? Because it works. You should be asking, like, ain't you afraid? That's what you should be asking. No, well, you shouldn't. You don't even need to ask that, because they're clearly not afraid. They're not afraid of being cursed and destroyed by the Heavenly Father. They're not afraid. But yeah, there's many things that you could ask a devil worshiper. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, he to him it's good. Crazy as how it sounds, but yeah, it works. That's why they do it, because it works. They get benefits off of it anyway, or else they wouldn't be doing it. They know that it works. They get benefits. Right. So let me see here. So it cured fevers. Okay. On leaving this island, the king gave to Captain Gershoy something, a great quantity of fruit in exchange for some linen to make shirts, which Captain whatever had given him, and of which he had no further use. He didn't want it anyway, so he gave it to him. On leaving there, he went to the coast. What? He went to coast the mainland towards. Okay. He went to coast the mainland toward Cape Bella to discover the country, but the contrary wind drove him back and cast them upon the island of Hispaniola, otherwise called Santo Domingo, or Saint Domingo, whatever you want to say, which is at present inhabited only by Spaniards. So in this day, in the day and age that he wrote this, he said, which at present time, inhabited only by Spaniards. Why? Well, it's going to explain why the island of Santo Domingo, had only Edomites. It's going to explain why. After they have put to death all the Native Americans, the Indian natives whom they found there, who were more than a million. More than a million were there on that island of Santo Domingo. It was an island. It is an island. Well, here, Santo Domingo. Map. If I'm correct, it's island, right? Yeah. They call it nowadays Dominican Republic. Now you know why the house Negro spirit is there, very, very strong. Not all of them. My neighbor is one. Dominicano. She looked native. If you look at her, you'd be like, that's a Negro native. If you look at her, you'd be like, the hair is very straight, but it's very flappy. Like, it's not as light as the natives. Here. It's not as like stale as these ones, but it's more this one, but then wet and shorter, because they can't really grow long hair because the so-called black is in them. That's why you have these so-called mixed breed chicks. That's why you have a lot of these. Their hair doesn't really grow longer than, look, this one, her hair will grow longer, but this one doesn't. It doesn't really grow. You won't really see it here. Not very. It's possible, but not very often. You will see it here. You're gonna see it here, and it stays there most of the time. But these ones, they go down. So yeah, she has hair like this, but a little more curlier, I should say. A little bit harder than this. Not like this, but thicker than this. I don't know how to explain it to you, man. She's from Dominican Republic, okay? Anyway, so going on to, but if you look at her face, you see native. I hope you understand what I just said. You see the so-called black Negro too. You see it too, but you see the native also. You see the nose Negro, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I know what I see because I see her hair, so I see it. Anyway, so okay, going on. So it says right here, they killed 1 million of them, and then later on they did replace them because other natives went there as slaves and stuff like that. They did put them back, but then they mixed around with the so-called black people too, and of course with Edomites because they raped them, So anyway, so it says right here, this is how they have converted the Indians to Christian faith, of which they boast so much. We killed them so hard. They started worshiping our God. Fucking devil shit. But anyway, it's cool, okay, man. Obadiah chapter 1 and 18. So that's the beauty that I remind myself when I read it. When I'm reading these type of things, you know, I'm furious. So it says right here in this okay, so it says here, Captain Gorget was not permitted to take even water, but he took it by force. He found himself there in very great danger, the sea being agitated by a terrible storm, and the land being to him a still greater enemy. For the Spaniards, so that, I think this one is a French guy, Captain Gorgosh or something like that. It's French. Going on. For the Spaniards are enraged as soon as they see. Oh yeah, it was a Frenchman. I forgot. As soon as they, because I saw the name, that's why I thought was that a Frenchman? Yeah, it was. As soon as they see a Frenchman in the Indies, they hated him. It was like, oh, what are you doing here? You know, the fucking conquistadors. I can't stand Spaniards, man. Can't stand these devils. Although 100th Spain could not furnish sufficient men to hold the 100th part of a land. Okay, anyway. So intensive and spacious. Oh yeah, that's what it says. So even though the land was so spacious, they didn't want you to come there because they was like, no, we stole this fair and square, and if you come here, we gonna kill you. Even if you're an Edomite. That's how demonic and barbaric these Spaniards were, and yet they called the natives barbarians. Oh man, like that. That's Obadiah. That's why Most High wrote Obadiah 1 and 18, Revelation 9 and 13 and what? No, 9 and no 13 and 9 and 10. That's why the Most High wrote those things. Joel chapter 3. That's why the Most High wrote those things. Anyway, Ezekiel 25, verse 14, verse 12, 13, and 14. That's why the Most High wrote these things. Yeah. So they hated even the French coming over. What are you doing here? You know where you're at, Frenchman boy? Nevertheless, the Spaniards conceived that this new world was created solely for them, and that it becomes no man living to tread upon. You know, you can't be alive walking on there, or even to breathe there except themselves alone. So no different person, and you could know a French and the Spaniards from each other, because the Spaniards had one different type of clothing and the French had one different type of clothing. Everybody, when you looked at people, you would know that where they're from back in the days, because a lot of people had the same type of style. That's why in the 80s and the 90s you would know black type of clothing. You would know it because they had look, all the clothing is from the Caucasus. He sells it. There were no black companies putting fabric together and making clothing. That's not the case. It was our people buying Caucasus shit. For example, Tommy Hill figure, which they dubbed Tommy Hill nigger because they was bullying him, that our people was buying his stuff. The rich amongst themselves was bullying him. Oh, you sell nigger clothing. Oh, nigger lover boy. Oh. Just stuff like that, right? So we took their clothing and then made it ours. And then now everybody would recognize, like, oh no, that's hip hop, that's black, that's this, that's that. Because they took it and then they started to share it amongst each other. That's why when I grew up in this world, not in this truth, I saw Mexicans dressing like so-called black people. But they hated them. But I saw them with the baggy white t-shirt, baggy clothing, rapping. But they hated them. I was like, what the fuck are they doing? And this was in the 90s. I saw that. So I had a problem with those people. But through this truth, I start understanding, like, oh, okay. So, okay, no. Right? Anyway, So going on now, it says right here. Nevertheless, the Spaniards okay. However, Captain whatever was forced to remain there until the storm had abated, being confident that he would more easily defend himself against the Spaniards than the winds and the sea. He's like, man, I just risk death here because they want to kill me, but it's better to fight them than to fight against the Heavenly Father. Well, with Mother Nature, it was whatever they call it, but nature. But yeah, the earth is a woman. But see, he took something that is real and then made it his, and now I don't want to use it no more because he's a devil. But if you read the book of 2nd Ezra chapter, what's it again, 5? I don't know anymore. 5, I think, I don't know. Where it explains to you that the earth is a woman. The earth has a womb. Symbolically, it's a woman. It has a womb and stuff like that. A woman have wombs. The earth has a womb. But it's the Heavenly Father that created it. Okay. So now I'm done with this part. And then, sorry for being this long, but I think I'm almost done. I think I have 2 pictures more, or maybe 1 or 2. It says here 13, but I don't know if I'm going to use the last one. I don't think it's needed. So basically, you can read the rest. Okay, let me just read it. Although intimately acquainted with the languages of the Crows, Blackfeet, and most of the tribe west and northwest of the Rocky Mountains chain, he was unable to speak to either the, I don't know how you pronounce this word, does, what? Look Chinese or something like that. Sioux, I don't know. Anyway, so it says here. I'll just read this part. Ethiopian is a word, actually, it's not a name. Ethiopian is a word that anciently was given to dark-colored people. The Arabs were called Ethiopians, which means burnt face. So when you see in the Bible it says Ethiopians, they say burnt face. But if you look up the word, it says Cushites. But if you look out through history, everybody that had a dark skin, the Greeks used to call Ethiops. They called Zeus Ethiops. He's not an Ethiopian. He was a dark-skinned man, what you call nowadays Africans or whatever like that. That is what he was. Either he was an Israelite or he was an actual Hamite with great might. And don't think the Hamites wasn't mighty. Deuteronomy 7. Those were actually Canaanites. I wasn't even talking about Mizraim. But you don't read a lot about Put. You read a lot about Mizraim, which is Egypt. You read a lot about Cush, which they call Ethiopia. And you read a lot about... what's the other one? Sorry, I forgot. Libya. Well, you don't read a lot about the other two. But Libya, you read a little bit more. I forgot his name, man. I can't imagine how I forgot it. Wow, kind of irritating. That's not what I want. Oh yeah, sorry. Wow, I forgot this one. No? Yeah, I forgot this one. So you read a lot about Cush, you read a lot about Mizraim, and you read a lot about Canaan. You don't read a lot about Put. You don't read a lot about him. He's like one of them guys that's not he's not really mentioned. He's just in the back of the bus, back of the crowd, something like that. But these were greater, 7 nations greater and mightier than the Israelites. They were fucking mighty. They had Satan, so they're gonna beat you. They're gonna win. As soon as our people started to worship Satan, we died. And these people were great too. And these people were great too. Yeah. These didn't have a high status in the world, actually. A noticeable one in the scriptures. But they're mentioned, but not really like the other 3. Anyway, so it says here. So basically all of them they would call Ethiopians. Ethiopian is not a race, it's a word. It means burnt face. It's not a race. They would call the East Indians, they would call them Ethiopians too. Again, Ethiopian is not a race. It has nothing to do with a race. Ethiopia, which is Greek, is a word which means burnt face. Ethiopia. It has nothing to do with Kush. They changed it. And now through the power of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushua, we start to understand, like, oh, you devils, you called everybody Ethiops. Because it wasn't even Ethiopia, it was Ethiop, or this word. They have the word in the Hebrew here, Ethiopian. It's a weird word. Yeah, here. Ethiopia. Something like that. The Greeks did it. The Greeks named them that. Here. Aethiops. Aethiops, this one. That's the original word in the English. So from the Greek, originally translated into English. This is modern English with the letter E. With the letter E. This is the original one with the letter I. There's no E in it. You know, this is the letter E here, this one. This one. They didn't have this one in this original word. Okay, let me finish this up right now. So it says right here, Ethiopian is a name that anciently was given to dark-colored people. This is the book of Hernando de Soto. He's telling you this. And this is from the 1500s or something like that. 1400s, 1500s, somewhere like there, around there. It says here, the Arabs were called Ethiops. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Ethiopia is not a name. It's not a country. It's not a race. It's a word. Just like Moor. Moor is not a race. Moor, that didn't even exist. It's actually Moreno. And the English speaking people call it Moors. Because they don't want to say Moreno. They don't want to say that. Those are the Roman Latin speaking ones from Spain. Those say Moreno. Morena, Moreno. That's not a real English word. But they adopted it as English and then they called it Moor. There you go. We just do it our way. Right? Zipporah, the daughter of the Median priest Jethro. Jethro is a title. It's not a name. And wife of Moses was a Cushite. But she was a burnt-faced person. But she was from the lineage of Cush. I don't think I have to read all this. That was only the point. This one, just to get that out there. It's a page of what, 589, if I'm correct. This page before that. But sometimes you have like these little notes and stuff. But yeah, whatever. You have like some notes and stuff like that. So this is the here. Let me see something. Okay, now this is an account which the Edomite was talking about, that the people that he met there in America were violent. Okay, so it says here, page, let me see, what page is this? 376, if I'm correct then. Or it was just a note again, I would think. Anyway, so it says right here, the lightning struck the temple, burned all their idols, and reduced the whole to ashes. The Heavenly Father did that, man. He struck down their altars, man. You know? Quickly the Indians assembled around, making horrible cries, tearing out their hair. They was ripping their hair from their heads, elevating their hands to heaven. Their tawny visages, these were the brown-skinned ones, because it shows you right here the word tawny. Sorry, I said tawny. I mean tawny. Their tawny visages, which is their faces, turned toward the burning temple, invoking their great spirit, the one that they were they were disrespecting by worshiping idols. Then the Heavenly Father hit them with lightning, while the howling of devils possessed, with the howling of devils possessed, so they were screaming as if they were possessed with devils, to come down and extinguish the flames. So in order to extinguish the flames, they took up mud with which they besmeared their bodies and faces to appease. Well, let me go to the scriptures. Ezra chapter 9 verse 3. And when I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head and of my beard, and sat down astonished. Basically astonished. Joshua 7:6. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Heavenly Father Yahweh until the eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. That dust is dirt. It's just earth. It's not like dust, the one that you can just blow and then it's gone. No, it's talking about the dirt. Mud, whatever. It's the dirt, the one that you can physically touch. You can't really, you can touch dust, but it's not. That's not what it means. It's talking about the earth. When they said they put dust upon their head, it's not the one that you blow. Not that one. It's talking about the earth, the dirt. Genesis 3:19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread. So when you need to work. Because back in the days, the Native Americans, they didn't work because the land provided them. It was kind of like the garden. But then when Adam sinned, he would now have to work. He would have to start grinding grind in order to make flour. Meal is the same thing. In order for him to cook bread and stuff like that. He didn't need to do that because in the beginning they were vegetarians. They only ate plants, and the animals ate plants too. The lions, everything ate plants. And we're going to go back to that. The lion shall eat grass with the ox, because they didn't do that. And the plants, they didn't attack us. Nowadays you have plants with thorns and thistles. They will hurt you, boy. But back in the days before Adam sinned, that was not the case. You didn't have that. You didn't have deadly plants that if you ate them, you will suffer a horrible pain. You want to die. You didn't have that. Anyway, so you have to work for bread till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, so earth you are, and to dust shalt thou return. So they put the earth upon their skin, the body, to show like, look, I'm unworthy. I'm the earth, and please forgive me. I'm a worm. I'm nothing. I'm earth. I'm from the dirt. I'm nothing compared to you. So please forgive me. That's what the covering yourself in dirt represents. One of the things. It also represents mourning and stuff like that, like showing that I'm in pain. I'm suffering. I'm equal to the earth. I'm but nothing. Please help me, Lord. Stuff like that. But they did it to appease the idols. So it says here, they took up mud, which they had besmeared their bodies and faces. Which they besmeared. Okay. The fathers and mothers then brought their children, and after having strangled them, threw them into the flames. This was a child sacrifice. I just read it to you in the book of Psalms 106. But this, of course, was way later than that. That was in the time of the Canaanites and stuff like that. Not that we stopped doing it afterward. Oh no, they kept on doing it, man. Until here. So this is one of the reasons why the Most High allowed these Edomites to come and butcher the shit out you. But you know who they never won? They never won the so-called black tribes that they fought. They never won them. So yeah, anyway. So it says right here, this name here, whatever, was horrified at the seeing of such cruel spectacle, and gave orders to stop it by forcibly taking from them the little innocents. But with all our efforts, 17 perish in this manner. They threw them in the fire to sacrifice to stop what they call the Great Spirit from punishing their idols and stuff like that, to burn them with the lightning and setting them on fire. So it says, right, perish after this manner. And had they not restrained them, the number would have been over 200. So they really wanted to kill their own kids in order to appease the idols that they was. That's making it even worse. The Most High is the one that punished you for it in the first place, and now you're gonna kill more kids to give blood sacrifices, because that is what they have learned from the Hamites. And they took it all the way up to in America with them. Joshua shows you that. Joshua 24. Read the book of Joshua 24. Even when Joshua was doing all these miracles, winning all these fights, he still said, put now away from among you all the gods of your forefathers, Terah and Nahor. Put them away, because they had them in our midst. And 2 chapters after that, when Joshua died, guess what? They started to worship the same. As soon as Joshua died, they started to worship those devils again and doing child sacrifice once more. All they needed for it to happen was the death of Joshua, and they was back at it again. Yeah, it was back at it again. Okay, so now here. So this, for example, these type of instances is what these type of devils crave for. They can't wait. Oh, it's not about villain and victim. It's about they was doing stuff to themselves anyway, and we helped them. These savages, they was killing their kids. You fuck your kids for hundreds of years. Here. And this is just Italy. 2 million Italians molested as kids by the churches. Wait, let me see. Churches. Here, 1 million children abused by Italian priests, and it barely hit the news. That's just one. And do you really think it's just 1 million? Come on, man. Stop that right there, man. It's in the boy. If you count until since the Greek days, they did it before that, by the way. But anyway, since the Greek days, then to count the Romans, then count, all the way, man, all the way up to now. It's in the so many millions upon millions. You ask yourself like, dang, how is that even possible? That's why Obadiah chapter 1 verse 18 is written, man. Can't you get that to your greasy head, huh? The truth is slapping you in your face, man. Can't you get that to your greasy head? The girl don't like you no more, you know. And can't you get that to your greasy head, huh? The truth is liking you now, you know. It's slapping you in the face. Wake up. Can't you get that to your greasy head? That's from Coming to America, the movie with Eddie Murphy, if you didn't know. Right, this is what they're doing, and this is just one fraction of it. This is just one little town. Well, it might not be a little town, but it's just one area, I should say better. Yeah, that covers it better. It's one area in one country. What about all the other countries? Come on, man. Even in Ireland, man. That's why I'm telling people, like, listen. It was the Sicilians that they didn't allow, and they hated the Edomites hated them. It was the Sicilians. It wasn't the rest of North Italy. It shows you right here.